Right, welcome everyone to another live expert Q&A. We have here Emily and Stephanie from FROGED. We're super excited. Uh, we're gonna be talking about onboarding, and onboarding is my jam. I love talking, and these two folks love talking about onboarding. Emily, Stephanie, how are you both doing?
Great.
So we are doing fine. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Ramdi, and
Yeah, super
for
excited to
being.
jump. Yeah,
So you want us to introduce us ourselves. Okay, so
yeah.
I talk a bit about myself. So as many people here listening, they know me, but for all of you who doesn't or who don't, sorry, my name is Emily. I'm CEO and one of the co-founders of FROGED. We define FROGED as a customer success and support platform, and so we help subscription businesses, other SaaS, to make the best out of their users' life cycle. And we focus very much at the very beginning. My history, my personal history, is quite long. I've lived in Brazil for many years before coming back to Spain 2 years and a half ago when we started FROGED with this amazing journey. And Stephanie.
My name is Stephanie. I've just joined FROGED as the head of content because onboarding is so important and because we kind of walk the talk. So it's almost like, Romley, you wrote a book and then we built it, or we were building it while you were writing the book. So I've come on board just 4 days, so be gentle with me. But we're very excited to be here. I have a big background in content and tech companies, but also if you need any information about wine or tequila, I have a lot of certifications in that from a previous career and evolution. So just like onboarding and customer success, you have to keep reinventing and keep moving forward. So I guess I've done that with my career as well.
So Ramdi, as you see, we say in Spain, like, we jump someone to the swimming pool and they have to swim. So this is a bit the case with Stephanie. But I love to test people in that way. So
That's
I'm sure
funny.
she's gonna do great.
That so funny. Four days in, Stephanie, jump in. Let's talk about onboarding. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, obvi- obviously people here to check out onboarding, but the challenge often for people is that the leadership team or the team in general doesn't see the value of, like, hey, why should we work on onboarding, right? Like, the product team's too busy on releasing features, and the marketing team is too busy trying to acquire users, and often it's this middle ground that's forgotten. I mean, I just want to hear from both of you what you think. Why is onboarding for you both so important for a lot of businesses?
I would say here, Ramli, that I loved your idea and your philosophy of thinking that onboarding is not just the phase where the user or the new client or the client to be becomes activated and gets to know the platform. It starts much before, or a long time before. So we always compare onboarding kind of a dating. So it's like creating those first good impressions is something that you could probably have done before, but then is like the moment of the truth, right? Is when the user, the client to be comes in, and he expects to see some of the outcomes. It's like he would expect to have that visibility of what he's gonna take as an outcome, at least to have that vision. And we always say that the story and the life cycle of a user, of a client, is like one line, and it's a continuous line. And it, for him or for her, it doesn't matter if who is he talking with, if he's talking with the marketing team, or this, if it's coming, that communication is coming from the sales team, or if it's happening during his onboarding. So his experience is one and the same, is one continuous line. So it's very much in that sense where we believe onboarding is the moment where you just verify or you confirm that user, that client, that what he is expecting is about to become true. Something is very much in that line. And that is very much aligned with what you say. We also say that customer success is not just one department, it's a philosophy of the whole company.
Mhm.
So
I love it. Anything to add to that, Stephanie? Or you're like,
well, I think, you know, it's funny. I approach it from the customer side for me, which is you've kind of gone through the steps to find the product, and then 99% of the time you're left alone to kind of figure it out. So to the analogy that Emily just gave, you know, it is like a first date. You know, you have to, and I think it's also a living, breathing entity. You can't just say, okay, we built an onboarding solution. We've got some product tools up. We've sent our emails out and then walk away. It's like anything else. You have to create brand champions of your product. Even if it's like an accounting product, it doesn't have to be a sexy product. You know, it has to be, you have to create a brand champion the way Nike does or the way Supreme has. And you can absolutely do that if you just give it some thought. If you pay attention and if you engage the client, because like we just said, we just got an email from one of our clients who said they just received the best welcome email that they'd ever gotten for a product before. And I think a lot of that has to do with is we are the same boat. We walk the talk. We're a software solution ourselves. So we are, I think that has a lot to it too, where there's a lot of vested interest in keeping people happy.
I love that you're both saying that it's not, I often see onboarding, people say onboarding ends when after somebody become a customer, a paying customer, but like both of your points, I guess it goes further than that. It sets them up like you're talking about loyalty, you're talking about advocates, you're talking about fans, and really like that is a good end goal. But you brought it up, Stephanie, about that email. I'm curious now. What was so great about that email? Like what was like?
I think it was two. It was very human, so it was very personal, and it combined both a conversational and product element to it. It's like, welcome. You know, we had a picture of our team. It was personalized. This is who I am. I'm going to be working with you. Here's my LinkedIn profile. So we made it personal. And then here's some steps for you to kind of get started. But we put a human behind the technology. Because at the end of the day, if you really, really think about it, if you've got a CX situation and you've got a customer success team, that's a team. Those are people behind every live chat, every element of that. So there has to be a way that you can, we call it human-powered technology because there has to be a human element about it at the back end. And I think one of the most important things is to remind people of that. You can show a little personality in what can be considered a transactional email. Why not?
Exactly. I would especially highlight that, Ramley. So something that we really would try very much from FROGED, and I think we do, is to give to every communication that human touch. And what is human touch? Human touch is normally connected with emotions. I think when we manage to connect with the other side, with the user or the client emotion, then you have created that magic link. Or at least that's the beginning of something. It's like, as I was saying about the first date. So it's creating that chemistry, and it happens very much when that human part comes and takes over. So I love very much that term or that concept, Stephanie was pointing out, which is human-powered technology. So that's very much our essence, and I think that makes a difference when onboarding, for example, an user client.
I really love that. It really speaks to this principle that Robert Cialdini talks about in his book around the psychology of influence, called the likability principle, where you're more likely to agree to people who you like, people who you connect to on a personal level. Like when you showed that picture of this human, it's harder for you to say no, right? It's easier for you to say yes, especially that you've offered help to that. Like you think about like people that you would they call the ride or die kind of crew, people that you would hang out for, right? This is what you're trying to build here, and you're making it the personality, the human power technology really does drive that home. That this is not just this robot or this space.
Exactly. And I think to that point, we have to remember every company, every agent is their own snowflake, right? Like there is no one exact solution for onboarding. So you have to create a flexible mentality to kind of power that. And, it's like you guys said in your book, like if you have too many choices, you're not going to make a decision. You're going to be like, forget it. I can't do it. If you narrow it down and you guide, and then you put in some elements where you can do some segmentation and you can do some elements that personalize it for that business, and then the end user, you've sort of kind of continue that human powered mentality where you're really honing in on needs in a way where people have a really good journey and an experience and come back and become those advocates for your brand. It's not a big packaged item. It has to be flexible in the way that it's built and used and the approach to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything you want to add to that, Emily?
Oh, well, that's very much the idea which lies behind. So yeah, and then something which also you talk about it, and for us it's important. We talk very much of during that onboarding process. We talk of the time to value, and this is a bit tricky to talk about. Time to value could be a bit tricky, but it's true that at least something which is important is to reduce to the maximum that time to value, or to show that user, to show that client to be where he may have superpowers at some point. So that vision, so bringing him or her to that moment is important. So I like also very much, Ramli, when you talk of those several aha moments that happen along the way. I do agree with that. But I think at this moment, onboarding is one of the biggest aha moments that may or that should happen for that client to be in his life cycle. So yeah,
I would say onboarding can help accelerate that a little bit. Accelerate the time to value, and it can provide proactive support tools before someone has a glitch or a moment like that. So it can, if it's done in the right way, you can create lifelong users. I think it improved the upselling process quite a bit. I mean, it literally is, I think the dating analogy is really, really good, Emily. It literally is, the dating analogy. It can be a Hinge date gone bad, or it can be a Hinge date that turns into a marriage. It just depends on how you do it.
And how you deal with it. Yeah, that is very true. Ramli, which is your point of view for that? Because what is your vision? I would love you to explain a bit also.
vision for time to value or
Mm-hmm. Exactly, time to value. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally with you both there. That it really is critical. I mean, there's this quote from Scott Belsky. He's the chief product officer at Adobe, and he said that in the first 15 seconds, all new users are lazy, vain, and selfish. And like, it's true. And like, think about the last time anybody, like for both of you, the last time you sign up for a new app. Some of the things that come to your mind first is, what is this? What's in it for me? Why should I care?
Right.
Why should will this make me look stupid in front of my team? And really, like, that's, if you don't capture them in this small window of opportunity, then
Exactly.
you're totally done there.
I would agree with you. I think the hardest thing when think about any app you're onboarding to, you're just like, oh my God, how many more steps do I have to do?
Right.
Like, I don't care. I love the part where you were like the customizing the color. I don't care about that. Just get me to the tool and show me how to use it, and then if it's complicated and I've got to do coding and anything like that, I'm like, oh, I got to come back. I think those are such critical missteps that people do, or they just send you into a marathon of whiteboards of just 5 pages long of just content to read, which nobody has time for. So there has to be an interactive element as well at play. And I think if you have a complex tool, which some folks do, it does require a little bit more onboarding. The Progress tool becomes an amazing option. So people feel like, okay, I've done this so far and I can step away for a minute. And then that email reminder to come back. Like, you've got one more thing and then you'll achieve this goal. If you make onboarding, if you have something complicated and if you put goals associated with the onboarding process, that's a great tool for engagement, for people to come back. If you aren't complicated, don't make it complicated. Just keep it simple.
So
people
we want
simple in their lives now. So just, A plus B equals C. Don't add the entire alphabet. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, exactly. So something which is very true is that people want simple things and quick things. So that's why time to value is becoming like of essential in an onboarding process. That's very, very true.
Which ironically, it's hard to measure that, right? Like, how do you measure time to value? Because it's so it's not quantitative. It's
qualitative.
Yeah, it's I think that would be curious. Romley, you talk about that a lot. How could you even measure that?
Right. All right. Cool.
Right, put you on the spot on your own program.
It's all good. That's a great question. Actually, there's a guy that I lean on to, Claudio Morar. He's a CEO of InnerTrends. And the way that he looks at it is, you need to do some math. You need to look at your best users. Right. And you want to map out the retention curve. You want to look at, like, within a certain time period, how many of most of your users stick around, and you want to find out where it starts dipping, and that's your window of opportunity to try to get them, whether that's a few hours or a few days. When you map out that retention curve and when people start dropping off is usually where the spot that you want to capture users on. So I mean, the interesting point to that is sometimes a time to value can be too short. Like, and he did a study, Claudio, where they reduced the time to value to 2 minutes, and they found that actually it ruined the onboarding experience more. And they had to increase it to 7 minutes because that's the time it takes for a user to actually learn without rushing them through the experience.
Yeah.
So
no one wants to be rushed to finish a test. Like, I think everybody can relate to when they were a kid and you had those standard tests and you had to, like, finish them on time. So I think that's that's a really astute example. It's a tricky balance, but it is really
so necessary.
I think it's an interesting time to be in this field because so many D2C brands are feeling like they have to go brick and mortar, or the customer lifetime value, it's getting so costly to manage it. So you wonder with these particular products, like how you can achieve a real loyal customer and someone that's going to speak volumes about your product. And, there's lots of evolutionary steps I feel that FROGED is taking that have kind of turned it. I don't know if we turned the model around because I'm too new, to be honest.
No.
I did say the proprietary technology there that is really helps understand the nuances of day-to-day business and what either product teams or customer success managers or even a CMO are dealing with, and finding the balance between, because I think, Ramley, maybe you would agree, we've gotten a bit data heavy, and we've sort of forgotten about the actual tactile experience of the consumer journey. And so one of the things I found compelling was Emily and the team's vision of finding that balance again and understanding the nuances of what needs to be available for an onboarding experience, because every company, every person that is touching, that's our end user, may have a different outcome scenario that they're looking to achieve. And not every customer is the same. Their outcome scenario might be slightly different too. And so it can't just be like a static style of programming. It has to be this nuanced approach. And I think, I don't know, Emily, if you want to talk to that, like how, because I feel like this is the evolutionary step of where we are right now.
Exactly. In fact, I was just gonna ask you, Ramley, and this is collateral. It's like, how do you think we are onboarding Stephanie? Because we are speaking of onboarding. What do you think? It's like it's a very particular way of onboarding her, and look at her. So
I had to go through
that's also what we do with clients.
I did. It's to give you a clue. Like if you come, oh my God, the word onboard is just gonna be like overused so badly today, but. If you can help me expand my vocabulary, when I came on board, I went through the onboarding.
I love it.
Yeah, so she did both. So I think that's important. So measuring, as you say, Ramdi, the aha moment is very important, and is that exactly that combination of qualitative and quantitative, and so that will help you build very much and approach very much. And of course, as Stephanie was saying, we have different users and different clients to be, and so getting and being able to onboard them everyone in their own way, it's really important. And I think this is also something which we are going to, this is like the era which is coming, and this is also again connected to that human-powered technology. So each one of us has his own process and his own times, and of course we have to be able to measure how to adapt to each one of the types of clients that we may have, and be able to guide them somehow. So,
interesting. Well, to that point, I'm curious now. Well, you brought it up. The types of users, like a huge thing that I think a lot about is segmenting and personalizing the experience for different types of users. Like they might have different end goals, success ideas. They might have different job titles, behavior.
Oh, yeah.
So how are you both thinking about that? Maybe even for your own product or other products that you've seen.
Okay.
In terms of like how do you personalize that experience? Do you personalize it for every types of customers? Hopefully not, because that's too much. Right?
That's too
That's
much.
too many. So how do you think about that?
That's a great question, Remley, and I think this is a story that I think it never ends somehow, because you are always nailing it down. And the easiest way, or I would say the easiest path, would be on the one that everyone maybe starts with is, okay, I make like different onboardings depending on the plans I have. That's like the super easy. But then as you move forward and you understand which are the differences, and you were saying it, you were pointing it out, Ramli. So which are the expected outcomes these users have? I think this is like the key point that will drive you to one kind or another kind of onboarding. And also, well, if we move forward, there is also a lot of psychological theories that will also connect with this point here. But so from our experience, we have started at, okay, just taking into account different type of plans and different expected outcomes, and from there we start building the different onboardings. But as we move forward, this is becoming a bit more complicated, or a bit more elaborated, I would say. So yeah, basically it's like that. I don't know, Ramli, if for your experience you've seen any company that has impacted you somehow for the onboarding they practice with the users, or the segmentation they do with their users.
Oh yeah, for me, I enjoy how Canva onboards. So they ask you straight up, like, what is your background? Are you a teacher who's trying to engage students? Are you a marketer that's trying to create ads for your thing? Are you a business owner that's trying to create flyers? Are you a student that's trying to create a presentation for class? And based on that, they suggest tools. It really is a great experience, and it reduces. Like, if you think about the number of types of things you can design with Canva, hundreds. But now they make you, you're a business owner, Ramli? Here are the top 5 things for you. Instagram posts, logos, flyers, and really that makes it easy for me to go to the next step.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
I think that they do a great job. I think one of the greatest things Canva does is that of itself. It just asks you a few questions, and they're able to narrow down and pinpoint where you need to go. I think that's the goal, right? We talk about, the industry talks about, customer success management, and they use these words, but I would rather be bold and say that really what we're trying to focus on is a customer outcome solution, because that's the end of the day, is the goal, right? Success has this feeling that it's a finite thing. Okay, we succeeded, we can move on. But really, what's the outcome? And I think the outcomes for us, our clients, are the same for their customers, right? And I think everybody wants to be that kind of, I think everybody would want to have that Canva experience where it's just seamless, and you just kind of get from point A to point B, and then all the materials you need are right there, and you feel like you're part of the process and someone's listened to you. And that, at the end of the day, is onboarding, right? It's proactive, it's solution oriented, and you leave not frustrated, but like, oh, I got to learn a little bit more. I need to become the master of this product.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea at the end is what you were saying, no? Is trying to understand very much who the person is, who is their expected outcome. And as Ramli was saying, they always ask you who you are, because that will allow you to understand which is your mindset, and so how I should drive you through the tool. And so yeah, I think that's very much an example to follow.
Stephanie, you said something there that kind of caught my attention around proactive. There's so there's I'm talking now about like high touch, like sales team or customer success, where there's proactive reaching out versus reactive, where like you wait for the user to do something, succeed with that, and then reach out, or wait for the user to reach out. Where's the balance between like annoying the user too soon and reaching out and like, oh man, do you want help? Do you guys, Emily, Stephanie, do you want help? And just like, I just signed up. I'm not ready.
I don't want
to
to
help to anybody. Which
Back off.
was too proactive. On the other side, it's too reactive. Where like now the user's gone. It's too late to like actually reach out. Like, what are your thoughts around proactive versus reactive?
Well, like it's the dating scenario, right? Like it's the guy that comes on too strong and you're like, dude, back off. And then it's the guy that's like, I'm going to wait 5 days before I text. So you've got to find that balance. And I think part of that comes on with some of the tools that you can embed in that can help. It's sort of like that progress statement that we were talking about earlier. So how can you be proactive and give them progress, but not so much annoy them? And I think it's finding the balance that works for your company culture and what that product is. So for us, it's a welcome email. It's, hey, this is our team. We're humans. And oh, by the way, here's a great way to get kicked off to this next step. And because there's a human element to it, there's an ability to maybe be a little bit more proactive than it feeling like you're just getting spam email that you're just going to ignore every day. And not be salesy. You know, I think there's a time and a place for upselling, but you have to kind of find that balance that works for your organization. That's where you have to look a little bit at your data. That's where some of the segmentation comes in, where you find behavioral aspects, where you're like, this person tends to respond only this type of user only responds this much. This is more effective. So that's that high touch point. But when I talk about proactive support tools, it's anticipation. If you've made it, you know, to the 10th mile of your marathon, you might be needing a power bar of some kind or some liquid or some water. So at marker 12, you're going to stop and be like, okay, maybe they need some Gatorade right now. I'm going to just add this on, because this is the next step of the evolution of them adopting this product and becoming a brand champion of it.
And something that I think also is very important, Ramli, not to be very pushy, is just to put help near them. So it's like whenever you were asking that, I was having these memories of getting into a shop and a vendor coming to me to ask me, oh, you want something? And it's like, I just want my space. And I will tell you whenever I need a size or whenever I need something. But it is true that the more and more we get used to, I mean, we are in this digital world where you should be placing some kind of help from where they can go forward. So it's not that being pushy. So being proactive and being pushy is something I think different, very different. So being proactive means that, okay, you just give them something from where they can ask for more. And even you can start from there a part of the onboarding, for example. This is something that, for example, we do in FROGED. So that's very much the case. And as we were saying, it's like, okay, everyone has like his own speed, his own needs. And so not having so many emails or auto messages, but just a place where I can ask for more. I think that's a good approach.
I love that. Thank you for sharing your response to that, because that's actually it's a hard it's finding that balance. That's the hard space, right? It's often a lot of companies have to figure out that
Right.
balance, and you're both exactly talking about. I want to talk about you're probably worked with a lot of companies in terms of with FROGED. Is there any particular mistakes that you see over and over again that you're like, oh, come on again, like, oh guys, please, like, what are those things that make your eyes roll, as well as get you like maybe ranting on a little, like, get you kind of like, why again?
So, and particularly talking in this activation and onboarding process, it's true that, as you were saying, we give them the platform for them to nail down a bit their onboarding process. And it is true, your previous question was very much related. So sometimes it can become like a bit pushy, or not to find the exact moment where to help their clients at. So that is that is something that happens quite often. So what we do, or what we try to do, is like to create, and this is something that we are implementing now. So it's like creating some references that will help them at least to have those guides. So I think a book like yours is super needed in the market, Ramli, by the way. It's true. It's like people creating, they need like some references of how others are performing in my sector, which super onboarding processes are being made that I can follow a bit, at least to have a reference. So that's important. And then the other one, it is very much connected to the idea of this funnel. We call it like where you have proactive approach, but then a self-service approach, and then where human approach, where humans interact. So that's very much a bit the whole process that a user should go through. So yeah, so sometimes it's like the correct mix of those approaches is what they sometimes need some some help, and we see once and again in our clients. I don't think Stephanie is going to be able to tell you much about this, but if she wants, she can. She can.
I can tell you, not from a client perspective, but I can tell you from a user's perspective, what I find absolutely irritating is when I've already signed up and the business is continuing to sell me before I've had a minute to catch my breath to figure out the value of what I've signed up for. Or they're pushing their own content versus the actual product itself. Like, enough of, like, where it's this crazy, unbelievable, like, we're having a conference, we're doing this, and I'm like, tell me about your product. Tell me, you signed me up, tell me how to use it, tell me how it works. Stop selling.
So Ramli, it's true that companies sometimes they are too pushy. And so, as you were saying, finding that right balance where you're giving value, you're giving them something that they really need, and so that will help them and will engage them more. I think that's the point. It is true that is why you have written your book. That's why we have created the platform. This is why we are talking here. This is like kind of a science plus an art. So there is a part of an art here. So so it's like it has characteristics of both. So yeah.
I really love that. I mean, it goes back to your point earlier that things can be too data driven. There's a lot of emotional. There's a lot of like psychological. Like when people buy, often people buy not because they've created a spreadsheet. Like, you think about like going to the grocery store. You don't have a spreadsheet of the different types of oranges. Which one's more orange? Which one is more expensive? Like, you don't do a spreadsheet of the type of orange you have. Like, in the same way, I think most businesses when they get software, there's there's an emotional piece to that. It's
Very important. Very important one.
If you think about it from like out of the technology standpoint, if you think about going to a restaurant, sorry, I feel like I've got a little feedback right now. Okay. But if you think about it, a restaurant is, I live with a chef, so not to demean chefs, but like a restaurant is really about the experience. It's about the whole thing. It's about the ambiance, the food, the service, everything you get. And that's really what onboarding has to be. It has to be that first experience that makes you want to come back, right? And I mean, the whole thing, it's about when you walk into the restaurant, you open up the platform. Is it easy to move around? Can you do it? Can I easily teach myself that? Is the service good? If I have an issue, if something's going to come up, am I going to get the help I need in a succinct way? And will it resolve it? And then the final part is the food. Is it good? Is it doing what it said it's supposed to do? Am I going to leave here with like some kind of horrible food poisoning, or I'm going to be completely satiated and happy? And then there's the win, right? Like, are they going to get to know me, and will I get my preferred table the next time I come back? You know, are they going to scale up with me? So I think that's the best analogy I can give for it on that end, is it's really like that experience, and onboarding does all of those things. If one thing fails at a restaurant, you don't go back. Mm-hmm. You don't. And that's to me what onboarding is.
Yeah. In fact, there is a quote that says that people get to you looking for a product or for a product, but what makes them stay is the experience. So that combination of things, so which is the final experience, is what really makes the trick, no? The point. So very much. We use that one very much.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing both. We have a question from the audience, actually. Interesting. I'm just gonna pop it up. How would you say? Would you say that it's better to do a short or fast onboarding than help the user to configure the platform so that you can use it correctly? Or, and then the next one, the person said, is it better to do all the configuration during the onboarding process, even if it's longer? So it's better to do short, fast, or long, but all configuration is set.
So as you were saying, and we do agree, the first time of the product of the user within your platform or with your product is essential. So I don't think it's needed to go to that depth. He just needs to see those superpowers he's gonna get from the product. So I would recommend that you go in a later moment to show him more. I don't think anyone wants to get in a restaurant and get everything good. We say empachado in Spanish, which means you get everything and you get full. So no, I would say that it's interesting to get in a later on process. And I do believe, and I was gonna send this question to you as well, Rambli, because you also talk of about this in your book. So
yeah. Before I do, I want to hear Stephanie if you want to add anything. So that
think about what that customer needs to know right then, to Emily's point. Like, what's the thing that they're going to come back to tomorrow? And then what's the thing that you can remind them about that will help them progress in their understanding and usage of your product? So this is all tricky. It's a balance. It depends on like, if you and I were sitting in a room, Santiago, I'd probably ask you like 100 questions back. But I would say, it's also a good reason to have a touch point to go back to them and say, you did this, you did it great. Take it up a notch and now develop your skill here, because this will give you this, this, and this. So if you continue to show them value as they progress in the usage, it probably will have a better effect of them coming back and you retaining them more.
I love that. I'm totally both with you. I think about it like a video game, right? Like Super Mario. Like you don't want to show how the different ways that Super Mario can. Here's how to swim. Here's how to jump. Here they level you up each, like the first level. Here's how you run. Here's how you walk. Here's how to pick up a flower. And then the next stage, level 2. Oh, here's how you swim. So like there's like different levels, and figuring out the first level is super critical to not overwhelm people.
Exactly.
So, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Oh.
No. I was going to say that gamification, for example, is sometimes very much used during onboarding. And exactly in that line you were talking about. So you make it also easier and engage the user to the next step. But it's important, as Stephanie was saying, to see the value out of the very first moments, and so that it drives you to want more.
Awesome. I want to start wrapping up, and if anybody else has a question, we can drop it in as well. If you can give one, for both of you, if you can give 1 or 2 pieces of advice for product-led leaders or people who are tuning in right now, what would be 1 or 2 pieces of advice you both want to give to people who are trying to improve their onboarding?
So from my point of view, I would highlight very much what we have said during the whole session today about humanized or human-powered technology. So don't forget that there is a human behind, and so touching him or her through emotions at the same time as you drive them through your product, that's very important. So that human connection, that would be my my tip to take.
And I would say focus on the outcome for your client. You know, what's their end game, not just with your product, but when they're looking at their product with their customer. You know, what is that outcome going, or what is, if the end user, you know, is a different type of client, then what is the outcome? What's the solution that you're trying to provide to them at the end of the day? And remember the experience. Always think about the time that you had a really great time going out to dinner and a really horrible time, because that is literally how easy it is to engage or disengage somebody quickly with your product. It is that simple. And so that means understand the journey that the user is taking with your product and how you can make their life easier and give them the outcome that they're looking for.
I love it. Thank you both. Like there's such a good point, the human side to it, and making sure you're looking at the whole customer journey. One final question: where can people find out more about, like, both of you? If they have more questions, are you both on LinkedIn, Twitter, and as well as where can people find out more about FROGED?
We are, of course, available in all those places. I can also pass here my personal email just in case anyone wants to reach out, which is emily@froged.com. So super easy, and we'll be super happy to assist anyone who needs or who wants to share some thoughts or whatever is needed there.
Awesome. Do you also want to share your email, Stephanie? I'm just joking, or Twitter or
Stephanie
LinkedIn.
doesn't want to share.
My full name is on my email. No, it's stephanie.rubin@froged.com.
Oh, okay.
So
right.
easy to find. Also on LinkedIn, you know, and yeah, we're on all the, we're on Twitter. We kind of are not right for Facebook. So we keep it real. We go where you guys are.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for both of your time. I really do appreciate it.
So thank you very much, Ramli. And yeah, let's rock it, right?
And read the book. His book is your roadmap, and we built the tool for it. So
appreciate it. Awesome.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.